Welcome to the Pirate Handyman, where we show you how to do things that can save you money and help you keep more coin in your treasure chest. And if you like what we're doing, hit the subscribe button down below. Drop us a comment. Let us know if there's some things that you'd like to see. Today what we're going to talk about is your vehicle battery. Now there are some things you can do to extend the life of your vehicle battery, and it is just simple maintenance. You do have to be careful with some of this, and we're going to describe what you have to be careful with. So your battery is going to have two terminals on it. It has a negative terminal, which goes to ground, and the positive terminal, which is the hot side. When we disconnect the battery, we want to take off the negative side first. Now this is the ground, which goes to the vehicle chassis. And the reason that we want to take it off first is if we were to take the positive off first and accidentally touch the vehicle chassis with our tool, we're going to get a big shock. And worst case scenario is you actually could have the battery explode. So we're going to take this off. Just in this case we're using a 10mm ratchet. We're going to move this off to the side, and I'm going to take a rag, just wrap it up and push it over. Now we'll take off the positive side. Got it loose, push it off to the side. Now this battery happens to be in very good shape. You can see there's not a whole lot of oxidation on it. The oxidation usually presents as gray, a light green, and what you do is you take a wire brush and you simply clean the terminals off. And it'll help create a better connection. And the reason that this is good is by creating a better connection, you don't get any sparking, which is going to, make the battery run down quicker. Now, if you have a whole lot of oxidation on here, basically what you can do is just take some Arm & Hammer baking soda, put it in a cup of water, and take an old toothbrush, and then just scrub it around. Then you just would wipe away the residue, and then you can go ahead and use your wire brush. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing we're going to do, this is a little trickier, and this is where you really want to be careful. With the battery disconnected, you want to check to make sure that you've got water. Now even though it's called water, it technically is acid. So if you don't feel comfortable doing this, you don't have to. Just by virtue of cleaning off the post, that's going to help save the life of the battery. But if you feel comfortable with it and you know you can be real careful, then what we're going to do here is we're going to check the levels in the battery, because you want to have sufficient water to create the acid, which creates the charge for the battery, but you don't want to have too much, otherwise it just makes it worse. So we use a screwdriver to take this off. And you can see it is a little wet under there. Now that's the battery acid. So you don't want to wipe your hands on your face or on your shirt or anything like that. You want to have a rag close by. But as you look down in the battery, if you get a flashlight, you can shine the flashlight down in there and then just kind of jiggle the car a little bit, or the truck, and there's a lip that is down inside the battery, and the water level needs to be touching that lip, and you'll see it because you'll see a little crescent moon. If you don't see the crescent moon down there, then your water level is low. Now you'll never take water out of the battery, because once it goes in there, you're going to be picking up acid. So what we'll do if we need to add water is you're going to use distilled water. And you have to use distilled water because you don't want any type of minerals in there at all. The minerals will just shorten the battery life. So you use distilled water, and then you can use just a little turkey baster. You can pick this up for a couple of bucks at the grocery store. You'll take a little bit of the water, and in this case, I'm going to put about maybe an inch or so into the battery, or I'm sorry, into the baster. And then I put it in the battery and put it down in. Then I take a look again, jiggle it a little bit, and now I'm touching. So as you can see, it didn't take much, but over the course of a year, you can actually lose a sufficient amount that it'll make the battery go bad. And you may have heard a mechanic talk about a dead cell in the battery. You have 6 cells in this particular battery, and in most vehicle batteries, that's what you're going to have. And when a cell goes dead, you've essentially lost 1/6 of the battery power, and so it's not going to be long before that battery is dead. So once we have done this, we are going to take a rag, and again, this is a rag that you're going to throw away, and you want to be very careful when you're wiping away the excess water or excess acid, because you don't want to push anything into those holes, because again, the sediment is going to just short the battery out. So now we'll put this back on, push it back down, and now we're ready to put the battery back together again. If you remember, we took the ground off first, so we're going to put the ground back on last, which means we're going to put our positive back on. So we make sure we get it nice and seated there. Now we're going to tighten it back up. Now we just want to make sure that it's snug, that it's not going to come loose. We don't want to over tighten it because we could actually strip it. Now you'll see that in this particular case, and this is truer with the newer cars, there is a cover that will go over the positive terminal. You want to make sure you put that down and make sure it's down all the way. This will help keep oxidation from forming there. Now here you want to be careful, because when you put the ground back on, you might get a little bit of a spark, and this is one of the reasons why you want to make sure that you've got this cap back on if you did do anything with the water inside the battery, and that you've cleaned it up, because the spark could ignite that. Now, I don't mean to scare you, this is worst case scenario, but it's something you do need to know. So we didn't get a spark there, we put it back on. Now we'll just tighten it back up. And once again, we don't want to over tighten, just make sure that it's on there nice and snug. All right, to recap, what we just did is we cleaned the battery terminals, sometimes called battery posts, get all the oxidation off of them, and we checked the water levels. Now, if you're starting your car and it seems to start a little bit hard, it seems like maybe your battery is dying a little bit, first thing you want to do is check the terminals, because it could be that you just don't have a good connection there, and if the terminals show that you have the oxidation, you know, that white, gray, yellow powder, then just do step 1. Take it apart, clean it, and see if the car starts better. If you live in a hotter climate, you might want to go ahead and check the water levels also. But whatever it is, just make sure you're very, very careful. You do the steps in the order that we talked about here, and you'll be able to extend the life of your battery. So we hope you found this helpful, and if you have any questions, pop them in the comments below. We'll be happy to answer any questions. Hit the subscribe button. Anytime a new video drops, you'll get notified, and go ahead and like us. We like it when you like us. So here's to smooth sailing, mateys. Thank you.